January 17th, 2013. First we start with the meditation. Kathy's doing Gomukhasana, the mudra. One hand on top of the other with the thumb and the pinky waving a little bit there, indicate like the fins. Excuse me, Matsyasana, not Kurma, Matsyasana, the fish, one of Vishnu's 12 incarnations. And then we move into Supta Padangusthasana, always doing something to open the groin and pelvis at the beginning of the class. It's one of the things that I learned, or I should say, I extrapolated from how so many classes began with Supta Padangusthasana, Supta Virasana, Supta Padmasana, and the different hip positions that it puts you in, supported or unsupported. So classical position here is unsupported Supta Padangusthasana, opening the groin. And then usually it's followed by some kind of hamstring stretch. Or here's more hip openers. So here's Dita Delu doing a good job of Gomukhasana. Gomukhasana. So a little too far in the lumbars, and we could flex that foot a little bit more on the top foot to extend the inner Achilles heel and take some pressure off the intermedial joint of the knee. But nonetheless, you'll see in the next picture another variation of the legs. Instead of having the feet to the side, I'm sitting on the bottom heel here. And it's really, really intense. So that's why I'm such a softie. That's why I got the extra blanket between my pelvic base and the heel. Oh, there's Patty in the side there. Hi, that's your spot, isn't it? All right, after we do the Gomukhasana, now we're lying down and we're pulling the mat. As we're getting ready to do Supta Padangusthasana 1, we're pulling the mat with our hands down to drop the shoulders. And this is going to teach how one shoulder works so differently than the other. It's not just the legs that are asymmetrical. So then we go into the pose, and those who can hold the foot do. But notice the student all the way on the left, Tom, he's so tight in the hamstring, he has to bend the leg, number one, and his head is kind of lurched up in the top. You can see how his chin is up, and so his neck is in too far an extension, whereas the students next to him, Jolynn, she can hold the leg at least, but she still has a bend in the knee also. So, but we're not giving him the strap to make it a little easier. We're having him understand the classical pose, but the belt is right there, you see. And then the pushing the foot into the wall gives you extra support. And then we go Supta Pada 2 to the side. So there's Wendy Clinard, our flamenco teacher. Then Supta Pada 3. This is a real tough one. So different angles, if you can see how important it is, how difficult it is to square the chest, because when you take the leg across and you raise the arm, your chest opens to that side. So to square the chest and bring the chest back to Tadasana, not so easy to do, but it makes it a fun challenge. And then you do Supta Pada 4. This is where you bend and try to bring the forehead to the shin or the shin to the forehead. And you can see the leg on the floor, big gap between it and the floor, and the leg that's closer to the head, big gap behind the back of the knee. So it's challenging, and sometimes we do this after a headstand to release the pressure in the base of the neck. But it's a challenging pose, a challenging series, isn't it? And then there's some more students doing it. That Catherine Chubb over there in the wall. Hi there. All right, then dog pose. Always do a symmetrical pose after a couple of asymmetrical poses. Hi, Joe. And now we're pointing out one of the many ways we might be teaching Trikonasana, like making a tripod on the metatarsals of the ball mount of the big toe and pinky toe, and then the center of the crown of the heel. And then when you do your standing poses, you use that as one of your navigation points. So we show the explanation on the foot here, and then we also use the belt underneath the feet to take the slack out and pull up on it while you press down with your legs, and you feel how there's this rebounding action. And then against that rebounding action, check to see if your feet are on the 3 points that we just demonstrated on the foot. And then once you give it a shot in Tadasana, you do a Trikonasana. But here's one of my favorite things in Trikonasana. Of course, you can do this if you get the idea in all the standing poses, and you just change the way the belt is going when you want to make the leg do internal rotation. So here you can see they have 2 belts at the roots of the thigh, and it's wrapped around, so the buckle on the front leg, which is the right leg here, is going behind you, and the buckle on the left leg is also going behind you. So if you pulled on those buckles, right, the belt would rotate your thigh externally. Each thigh would rotate from inside out, from the big toe toward the pinky toe side. It would also mean that on the right leg, right, the outer right hip would tuck under toward the inner groin, and on the back leg, the left leg, the outer left hip would roll around behind to the tailbone side. So the belts teach you that contact sensation, and then you go into the pose and you let go of the belts and you see whether or not you remembered. And then you find those 3 points in the foot, and you see how that changes your awareness. Then you do Parshvakonasana. How many of these tapes will you see before you realize how I ramrodded this home year after year to show everyone Trikonasana, Parshvakonasana, the Batman Robin, the dynamic duo of standing poses as I've learned them, and the similarities of the two poses, even though one is a straight leg, one is a bent leg, and yet how difficult it is to maintain the awareness of doing the same details in one pose in this other pose. Not every detail is the same, but so many of them are, and it really gives you a challenge, even though they're basic beginning level 1 poses. Nonetheless, now you got the shoulders involved, and you can see the challenges. And then an interesting pravritta variation, okay? So for those of you that can't either challenge the arm over the front leg bent knee to get the twist and take that hand all the way to the floor, you do it on the inside of the leg instead of the outside of the leg. And that way, at least, you can turn your chest and merge your front body toward that thigh and at least get part of the twist without the other part eluding you. And then we make the transition into inversions. And so Prasarita Padottanasana is both a head-down position, so there is both a sense of calming after the challenging standing poses, which almost always gets your will involved, overworking. And then there's also becomes a transition to inversion poses, whatever you're going to do. So this could be your mock headstand for people who are not putting weight on their skull, but at least gets them down and has some blood rushing from the lower extremity with gravity's help into your skull. So here you're using the two hands, and then we're calming down more with Janu Sirsasana, forward bend, and then Bharadvajasana, the twist. And you can see the knees are slightly coming apart as opposed to if the thighs were more parallel to each other. Even though the legs are bent, you're supposed to have the thigh to the knee, similar to Dandasana, where the legs are straight ahead. So it's an interesting way to see how the pelvis gets distorted and how you can resist and struggle to get back to, well, how will the alignment be better if from the thigh to the knee we were parallel to each other in the same way as when the legs were extended straight. And then we almost always do a inversion to finish off. And again, just like triangle pose and lateral angle pose, Trikonasana, Parshvakonasana are a dynamic duo. So is headstand and shoulder stand, right? So of course, Sarvangasana is to be worked on before you even do headstand. But it's a challenging pose, but I call it an inner bath. It's such a refreshing feeling for your whole anatomy and circulation to get your legs up and stay there and challenge yourself for a couple of minutes at a time. And then comes your Savasana, right? You did the work, now you just lay out and you cover yourself, or for those who don't want to completely notice how Dita has the feet covered. So the extremities covered. That's helpful even if you don't cover the whole body. And then you enjoy the fruit of your labor.